Gerard, you've lived a long, very interesting life, packed with all sorts of activities and engagements and positions. When you look upon your life, how do you see the progression of the silver generation from when you were a child looking at the silvers and yourself being a silver now? The kind of lifestyle, the kind of living, and the kind of opportunities that exist for the silver generation.
Well, I was born in 1949, to put it into context. So back in the 1950s, 60s, families were large. You have a lot of children, and the children will have children. So it's a very large family unit, and filial piety was very much into it. It's the taken. Your children and grandchildren will care for you, respect you. So it's a very different context from today. So today, I don't think one should expect that automatically. Many families are still blessed. They're still very much intact. But the reality today is families have become very small. And in some cases, you have a single child family. So just imagine a scenario where husband and wife are from a single child or from a family where they're the only child. So two of them are going to look after four parents who are aging. And that's not to mention of their children. So you have two children, you have to look after six of them. So it's quite a challenge compared to the 1950s, 60s, where everyone chipped in a little bit and the family can survive one form or another. Even household chores, everyone do their bit, is taken care of. Today is quite different. So the social contract has to change. Unfortunately, I don't see that happening. Now, the strain gets a bit more difficult, especially for talking about young couples looking after four aging parents and kids. The social contract hasn't changed so much that men and women see themselves as having equal responsibility for the family, for the household. I think many men still haven't adjusted the fact that they should really help out at home. And the poor ladies have to cope, and today we're talking about dual income families, have to cope with at the workplace, as a wife, as a mother, as a daughter-in-law. That's a lot. So unless it's changed, how do you tackle this stress of two people trying to cope with that four elderlies and some children? So it's changed. You can't compare being old in the 1950s and being old today. So today I would say you really need to be self-reliant. You really need to depend on yourself. I think most of us realize that, or beginning to realize that, but we don't prepare for it. One of the things about aging successfully is maintaining meaning in life. I always dread the day, I hope it never happened to me, where one morning I wake up and say, what shall I do today? And the answer is, oh, there's nothing in the agenda. Then I'll say, why wake up? Sleep longer. And then when I wake up, I have nothing in the agenda. Why bother to change? Then I'll be in my pajamas most of the day. I think that's the start of deterioration. And I think before long, I will probably have developed serious dementia and will have to be cared for. So I think having a purpose in life, a compelling reason to get out of bed is really the key to aging well. To feel worth, to feel that you are needed by someone or other. And that can be achieved by being a volunteer. Don't wait for people to come and give you that worth, that value. Go out and be a volunteer and be of value to others, then people will begin to appreciate you. I think most people got it wrong. They want people to come to them first. But I always say be a volunteer, and then you will begin to realize that a lot of people will begin to say, wow, this is someone I want to be a friend with. He's really good, he's really helpful, and so forth. To cope with that, if you look at the scenario 40 years ago and today, there were not so many older people and family was still pretty much intact. I think it's more challenging for some of the old people because there are few of them and they're scattered. Today, whilst some people talk about the silver tsunami and there are so many people are aging and all that, in a way it's positive because there are so many, you can organize them into a community of silvers. You can get them to come down together, to be active, to help each other, to find meaning in each other. So this sense of family has to change. Family now is really people who care about you, and that is your community of silvers coming together. So we are building quite a number of active aging centers for older people to come down and to participate in the many activities that the AACs will be offering. We are also very mindful that with the number of AACs, in many cases, you should not be more than 400 meters away from an elderly. Activities have to be compelling. And what is being done now with the corporations of advisors and people's association, we're hoping that RC centers, which usually is unoccupied, unutilized in the daytime, can be opened up and become satellites for the active aging centers and have activities there. That brings it to the home, to the blocks where the seniors are living. All you need to do is to come down and participate in activities. So a lot of these are in the works, but getting people together is just one thing. How do you really care for them? How do you ensure appropriate services, especially from the health perspective, are put in place? And this is where you really need to collect data. And we are in the early stages. As you know, it's easy to speak of it, visualize it, but it's very challenging to implement it. You need a taxonomy so that wherever you are in Singapore, you describe the condition of senior in the same way. Otherwise, your data is not going to make much sense. Then you have the problem of PDPA. How do you share data with different agencies so that everyone can look at the same data and make sense out of it and ensure that appropriate services are being developed and offered to people. So all this is happening. It's a very exciting time for Singapore. We are not too late. And I foresee that within the next 2 or 3 years, you'll see a lot of progress in this whole aging sector.
So what's the initial data telling you?
Well, I think the initial data is the number of seniors that are having acute conditions obviously is high, and you don't wait for that. That's why you see this promotion of Healthy SG. So you want people to be treated and kept healthy and not wait to catch them when they have developed symptoms that need to be treated. So Healthy SG, and then with the whole network going down with the PCM right down to your participating GPs, I think it's the right direction to go. Eventually, the way I would describe it is every single person should become a case to be managed from the health perspective. So with the data and the software are available for your handphone and all that, Healthy 365 and all that, you can clock in the number of steps you're walking. You can monitor. You have to take responsibility for yourself. Government can put in place a lot of these facilities, but cannot force you to participate. So a lot is being spent to develop all this. Now it's up to the individual to say, thank you very much. I want to be healthy. I don't want to end up having to be cared for. So I'm going to participate. So from July, as you know, is opening up for people to register with their GP. I would urge everyone to go forward, register, and let the GP monitor you. The first interview may take a bit longer because he has to assess your condition. After that, he will then give you guidance on what you need to do. Maybe you need to monitor your diet, you need to exercise more, you're just not walking enough, you're not drinking enough water. Eventually down the road, I foresee that the whole system will probably even include health counselors that you can be referred to, who can then help to monitor you on a more consistent basis. And with digital technology, you can be in communication with your counselors all the time, you know.